I think I really born with the idea that I will be a doctor, clearly. And after that, I also know intrinsically that I want to work in hospital, okay, not in private activity. And in France, because I'm French, okay, we have a study, and after we become a resident, so we spend 4 or 5 years in hospital, and every 6 months we change the hospital. And at the beginning, I don't really know what specialty I want to do, but maybe internal medicine, maybe rheumatology, not really in my mind. But what I want to do is to stay in the same place and to continue in the hospital. So clearly the hazard that I will become a pulmonologist, because one day I encounter some people or some mentor, and it's really for me what I want to do. And the manner to do the medicine was important for me more than the specialty, rather than how they do the medicine. And I thank them very much for that, because they are all today. And after also, but it's a long time before, I don't imagine that I will become a professor in my specialty. And it's a very hazard that I made a master and after a PhD. But at this time it's not obliged. And today I'm very, very happy of this job, because pulmonology is so interesting. There's very large different type of disease in the lung. You can work on infectious disease and tumor and inflammatory disease and thromboembolism disease and so much, and also lung cancer. But it's new for me. It's just for 10 years. At the beginning I worked on AIDS for 10 years, but in 1996 no more AIDS in pulmonology department, because the patient take heart therapy, so it's clearly changed the situation. And in my department also we were very involved in lung cancer, so I began to work a lot in lung cancer, and specifically on the targeted therapy, and more recently in immunotherapy. I've also another very exciting subject is on the rare disease. Sometimes there is a relationship between rare disease and frequent disease, such as lung cancer in AIDS patient or lung cancer in patient with intercellular disease. So it is a very exciting specialty. The question of GFR mutation, or more generally on coding driven cancer, is very hot topic today, because there is a new break in your conception. Still recently we use first generation TKI first line for this patient, like erlotinib, pifitinib or afatinib, with 10 months of efficacy, and it is well better than chemotherapy that is only 3 months. And more and more new drugs appeared in the market, second generation and third generation. And yesterday in Barcelona, there is an ESMO release of the last trial named Flora trial that compared third generation TKI first line with third generation TKI first line, that is osimertinib, and that proved that this drug is more effective than the first generation TKI. It's 10 months for the old one and 18 months for the new one. And also it's translated in 6 more months in terms of overall survival. But this strategy is questionable, because in this trial, for example, we don't know why, for the first time, Asian population makes less good than Caucasian population. It's very unusual. Another also question is that, as usual, L point mutation in the exon 21 do not profit from the first line osimertinib compared to the whole generation TKI. The problem is this trial, but it's a problem in real life, that after first line treatment, 30% patients do not have second line treatment. Okay? So the question is, do we have to use upfront now the third generation TKI osimertinib to today? And the answer is clearly yes, because it is better, it's 6 months better in terms of overall survival, it's less toxic. But it's not closed. I think the subject is not closed because it's only 38 months of overall survival. And if you look in other diseases like ALK rearrangement disease, it's today 8 years. So we have to make some more improvement in diseases. Because I worked a lot on AIDS, probably this disease is comparable like tuberculosis or with AIDS disease. If you use just monotherapy, even it's better and better and better, you are not able to cure the patient or chronically cure the patient. Okay, it's the same for HIV. You have to use probably combo therapy that acts on different type of alteration in the cells, maybe to have a big gap in improvement. Okay, and there are at least 2 proposals today. Is to add to TKI maybe anti-angiogenic drugs of Beva or ramucirumab, or amazingly also some people have proposed to use all first-line TKI plus chemotherapy, so a home treatment for a new disease. And in these 2 phase 3 trials that has been reported in ASCO 2018 and 2019, the overall survival is 50 months, so it's greater than osimertinib alone, and not with osimertinib combination, just with whole TKI combination. Okay, so we think that we have to combine some treatment in first line to prolong the overall survival. And what we know is the same for HIV or for tuberculosis. If you try to run after the resistance, it's finished, because the disease will become very, very heterogeneous. So clearly, if you want to improve, you must to be better in the first line, so to use combo therapy. I think it's a new hope for this disease. The sample you speak about, interview about, is about dilemma. Okay, so we try to answer, to resolve 4 dilemma. The first dilemma, or the 2 first dilemma, is on technology. And for one is, are we ready to make in the practice the use of tumor mutational burden, okay, the TMB. And yesterday at ESMO, there are many trials that say at the end of TMB. At the end of TMB, not necessarily because it's not a good biomarker, but because in this trial we use combo therapy, so the combo therapy become more effective and less agnostic. So probably TMB is not today a good biomarker. The only one that is still here is the expression of PD-L1 on the tumor cells. But today, it's what I tweet on Twitter. I'm drunk with all these results because they are contradictory from a study to another of the use of monotherapy, combo therapy, IO, or combo therapy, IO plus chemo, depending on the patient, depending on the PD-L1 expression of the TMB. So today I don't know how to treat my patients, so it's difficult. The second dilemma is about the use of repetitive plasma biopsy to either monitor the burden of the tumor and see if the burden falls, but more particularly to identify resistance mechanisms. And one more, I have no answer today, and really today, because if I put osimertinib in first line, it's finished for me to look at my patient with biopsy or plasma biopsy if he developed with first-line therapy a T790 mutation that is treated by the osimertinib. If I give to all patients osimertinib, I don't know how to monitor the resistance mechanisms in the plasma or the tissue, because we don't know very well what they will be. We know that probably there will be more heterogeneous, they will less interest a GFR pathway, probably other pathway, probably multiple pathway, and rather less transmembranous growth factors, and probably more intracellular pathway. So it will be more complex after osimertinib to have a good targeted therapy, and probably we have to use chemotherapy in this patient. So after OSI, I don't know what I will give to my patient if I give OSI in first line. The two therapeutic dilemma is on the oncology driven non-small cell carcinoma, and the question is sequential therapy, so 1, 2, 3, depending on the resistance mechanisms, either last gyrosine TKI up front, so no way for the sequencing, either combo therapy. In my opinion today, for all disease, we have so much effective last generation TKI that probably we continue with monotherapy in first line, but I said you, for EGFR TKI, I'm not satisfied by osimertinib first line, and we have to combine osimertinib with other treatment. And the second dilemma, I really not how to resolve this dilemma today, is about immunotherapy. For which patient immunotherapy alone, for which patient combo immunotherapy, for which patient combo immunotherapy, chemotherapy. But the question is for me, is there a place for chemotherapy alone? And I don't know today, really I don't know. This afternoon I was at the session on lung cancer screening, and it's incredible because we have at least 2 very big studies, one in US and one in the north of Europe, that they clearly demonstrated that early detection is a good thing for patients with lung cancer risk, and although it's used in US, in Europe there are no country that politically have implemented some like strategy in terms of screening in the population. But in my opinion, I like to treat patients. I like to make diagnosis, complex diagnosis, but really I would prefer to do not treat the patient. And the question is not to well treat the patient or to well screen the patient, but the real problem is how we can do that they have no lung cancer, and we know how to do, no smoking. First point, in my opinion, is that lung cancer is a pediatric disease, because if a child becomes to smoke at 14, his probability to begin a smoker at 18 or 13 or 30 is maybe 60%. If he becomes to smoke later, maybe at 18, probably it's less than 30%. So my obsession is clearly to speak to children and to make them not attracted by the cigarette smoking. And I think also that it's not parents that have this job, it's not doctors for this job, it's clearly child to child. I think that children have to really take in part this aspect, like they do for pollution, okay? Probably they have to do the same for smoking cessation, not to begin smoking. This is my first obsession about smoking cessation. The second one is about how to stop smoking. Clearly what I explain to my patient is that they are really sick about an addiction, and this addiction with nicotine is far more strong than for heroin. So it's very, very, very difficult to leave, to quit nicotine addiction. So we have to give them a substitution, like for heroin patients. Okay, we have to need and we have to explain that, and we have to give them a substitution that makes them no effort to leave the cigarette smoking. So if we have to give 10, 20 pills with nicotine, it's okay. Okay, we have drugs for that. We have nicotine for that. Okay, but we have also other tools. Probably e-cigarette is a tool, but today is not a treatment. So you don't buy your e-cigarette in a pharmacy. You can buy a special drug. Okay, so this is a problem. And there is very recently like an epidemic of death, not due to the e-cigarette, okay, but the wrong use of e-cigarette. Okay, we have to remember that maybe it's 10 years in Europe, in the States, with million of people using e-cigarettes, and no death. Just one or two problem with inflammation in the lung, etc., but no death. And the CDC is the office that identified a new problem, like for HIV in 1985, one tomatocytosis in New York and one Kaposi sarcoma in San Francisco, and after it's the beginning of the story. Okay, it's the same here. The CDC just saying, oh, we have something new, but something new is not the e-cigarette, it's the wrong use of e-cigarette. They broke the e-cigarette, they put in it, I don't know what, and probably doctors don't know what, but we speak about oil, cannabis or cannabinoid, and it leads a problem. So it's not the e-cigarette problem, it's the wrong use of e-cigarettes. So for patients that has quit smoking with e-cigarette, please continue to use your e-cigarette, but you have to consider the fact that it's that is a substitution, and it's not a treatment. So we have also after to quit the e-cigarettes to be completely cured of addiction. Yes. What we spoke before the interview, it's about the place of the ERS in the thoracic oncology. It's a small place. The big place is clearly the ESMO Congress or the ASCO Congress or the ESSA Congress. ERS want to be involved in lung cancer, but there are not so much people that are working in ERS and the lung cancer. So the thoracic, the oncology thoracic assembly, the 11, is small today, and we are very happy if a new member come to this assembly, and particularly young people, and they involved in the ERS thoracic oncology assembly. Probably it's not the place for phase 2, phase 3, or something therapeutic study, but probably for screening, for how to make biopsy in the patient, and also how to monitor the lung complication of the new therapeutics such as immunotherapy or targeted therapy. So it's our job today. If you want to have a part of the place in this thoracic oncology world, okay, and after in the second time maybe we can make also a therapeutic trials.